Welcome to this month's Member Spotlight, and I am here with this month's Spotlight, Theresa Barnabei. We're going to talk a little bit about what it's like to have a business now doing business virtually.
I always had that dream. I had that seed planted in my head that online products were the way to go to reach the masses. And in order to do that, online makes that happen. I remember calling Betsy. We need to do something. I said, because if we don't teach people how to use the tools that are available to us, most people will be out of business.
When you tell your brain, the next small step is so easy, Betsy, it's so easy. Just do this one little step, and then you're that much closer.
I didn't know anything about Zoom back then. Sometimes we just have to say yes, and then we take that leap of faith.
Hi there, everyone, and welcome to this month's Member Spotlight. And I am here with this month's Spotlight, Theresa Barnabei. Welcome, Theresa. Thanks so much for joining us and agreeing to speak with us today.
It's good to be here.
I'm going to give a little introduction for those of you who maybe don't know Theresa. Some members of our group do. So if you are here with us live, please tell us so that you're here and how you know Theresa. We'd love to hear that.
Keep it clean.
Keep it clean, she says.
And nice.
Keep it clean. Oh, be nice.
And be nice.
Like they might have something not nice to say. I don't think so.
You never know.
Well, just to give a brief introduction, that Theresa and I, first of all, have known each other for many years. We actually led training programs together back in the 90s, back when there weren't cell phones and internet, and we were in different classrooms, so to speak, teaching a program. I did the tech side, Theresa did the business side, because we worked in corporate America for a very large company called United Parcel Service, as we called it back then, United Parcel Service, now known as UPS. So we have come from doing training together there to training together in the last few years on the current technology. And we're going to talk a little bit about what it's like to have a business now doing business virtually, 100% virtual. Some of you listening in might be 100% virtual. Tell us so. But Theresa, I'd love for you to tell everybody what your businesses entail and how they've come to be online businesses.
So I'm going to take you back a little bit, not as far back as Betsy just did. I'm going to take you back to 2008. I was just launching my coaching business. And back then, I hired a coach to teach me how to move all of what I had in my head into online products that I could sell in conjunction with my coaching program. And it was interesting because half of the technology that we have today most of the technology we have today didn't even exist back in 2008. And so I remember thinking, this was really hard. There were like 15 different components to make it all happen. Today, we get on Zoom and we stream into Facebook and who knows where else all at the same time. It's just unbelievable. And so I decided to just stay in the live venue and not online. But I had always had that dream. I had that seed planted in my head that online products were the way to go to reach the masses, right? And that's always been my goal, is I want to impact as many people as I possibly can. And in order to do that, online makes that happen. Zoom makes it happen even easier. And so today, I'm like recognizing that before I was ahead of my curve, today I might be just a tad behind the curve. Because there's so many tools and technological advances that make it so much easier. So I'm literally moving my entire business platform to an online venue. It doesn't mean I'm not going to do live presentation. It doesn't mean that I'm going to stop doing live, coaching. Not at all. However, every piece of business plan moving me in the direction of growth is all moving online. And of course, Zoom is a major component of that, because how can you not? use it?
That's a really good
question.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, to differentiate between having an online business where you could have your business working for you online and you're not live. And that's very, very possible, as opposed to using Zoom to maybe complement that part of your online business, or for it to be the sole part of it. And so just take us back, if you could, maybe the last 2 years, and how or if the last 2 years has played a part in bringing you to this decision that you're describing to us.
Massively. So I now am in a coaching program that helps me put the products online. That probably started about 2.5 years ago. But when 2020 hit, I'm like a lot of people, you know, my doors were about ready to close because I had done everything in person. Now we refer to it as live versus remote. And when that stopped in 2020, I literally sat there, and I remember calling Betsy and I said, we need to do something. I said, because if we don't teach people how to use the tools that are available to us, most people will be out of business. Do you remember that call?
Mm-hmm. Most
and
definitely.
I asked her if she would do a training in-house for an organization with real estate educators. And she said yes, because we would have been done. And, you know, there was no predicting how long we would have been out of business. We just would have been out of business. And most people can't afford missing a couple of months of cash flow. And so Betsy graciously agreed to do the training, and it went over so daggone well that we asked if she would do a second training, and she did. And then it's history from here on out, because so many of us through that training learn how to keep the doors to our business open. And I tell Betsy all the time, I'm like, you got to tell people that, like, you got to tell people that you're the one that taught us to keep our doors open and keep us cash flowing and in revenue. Because I mean, that's what a business runs off of, right? While serving the people that we serve. So I didn't know anything about Zoom back then. I'm like a lot of people, I knew nothing. I sat in those 2 classes that you did as students. And then of course, I tapped Betsy for some one-on-one, like, okay, we don't know how to do this. We don't know how to do this. How do I make sure this happens the way it's supposed to? And that is the start of why I can do almost everything now from this. I call this the cockpit, right? Like Control Central. I can run all my business from right here.
Yeah.
And what a joy it is. So that is what happened in the last couple of years. And the learning curve, right, from not knowing anything about Zoom to now, like, it's just a natural. Like, it's funny, the other day I scheduled a business meeting via phone, and the gal who runs my office says, what, phone? We're not doing a Zoom meeting? And I said, no, we're just going to do good old fashioned phone.
Yeah.
So, you know, we have options now.
Yeah. And I mean, thank you so much. I mean, yes, I if I could take people back, maybe when I'm interviewed somewhere, I'll take you all back. Maybe I'll take you all back anyway, sometime soon. Prior to 2020, and I'm teaching applications all the time. That's what I love to do. Zoom is an application. And very much like I would teach someone Microsoft Office, Betsy, I need to know Excel. And if I don't learn Excel, I'm to a point where I'm expert at it, I'm not going to be able to do my job. I'm not going to be able to lead my company. I'm not going to be able to lead my team, whatever. You could fill in the blank. You know, Zoom happens to be one of those applications that filled in the blank. And it happens to be this communication tool, which allows you to get yourself on camera and do what you do best and gain exposure to thousands just in one click. So you look at the camera, and just as you had to travel, you've been a national speaker, and you had to travel, take, a lot of time out of your schedule to get you to do your genius where the people are. And now Zoom takes you there to us just with a few clicks. So
yeah. I've been to Hawaii the last 2 years, unfortunately not in person. However, the training happens anywhere that you are. And one thing real quick, because you just said something that reminded me of something. You weren't the Zoom expert at the time. Like, there were a lot of things that we would ask you questions and you'd be like, well, let me find that out. So this is a good lesson for whoever's listening. And it's this. Sometimes we just have to say yes. And then we take that leap of faith. Like, you said yes to the training. I said yes. The community that you were training said yes. And in saying yes, so here comes the coach in me, because there's always a philosophy behind everything. In saying yes and taking that leap, look at where we are now versus where we would be if we wouldn't have said yes. Right? All of us, you, me, everybody who's watching this, tremendous impact on our own lives when we say yes. So the decisions that we make today are affecting our future self. We don't necessarily look at it that way. Like, you didn't know how big this would become when you said yes to a class. I didn't know how big it would become when I said, yes, I need to learn this. And now look, it's really in 2 years, we look 2 years back. I'm in my future right now, that if I wouldn't have said yes 2 years ago, I wouldn't be sitting in this future right now having an interview with you, live streaming through Zoom. Sometimes we just have to stop and think about those things, because that's where the blowaway in life comes from. When you take stock and all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, that moment in time right there, that decision, that moment in time is what catapulted me to here today. Yeah. So it's a blowaway.
Yeah. I'm going to take you now to when you've said yes, and that comes from doing a podcast, writing a best-selling book. And I do know this because way back in 2019, way back, right? Can we all think back that far? And I had read your book, The Flight of Your Life. And I was listening to your first podcast. You have 2 podcasts that have since been published. And I not only wanted the book, I wanted to purchase the book for friends.
Yes.
And the book was not online. The book, first of all, was not online. And it's something that you're passionate about, that you want to, here it is, send the physical book, here are my notes on it, send the physical book out, but you couldn't purchase it online. And so I've seen you go from that point to now where your business is, and like you've told us, is 100% online, and we can get access to your content with just one click. So
yeah, as a matter of fact, since we're talking about this is how easy it is. And I didn't have this open, but this is how we make things happen. I'm opening the chat, and I'm going to drop my URL where anybody who's listening can go get my book. But you're right. A short time ago, I didn't have that online. Yeah, I didn't. However, okay, so here's what happens. This is what has to change, right? And sometimes we don't even know it. I was selling my books like crazy when I was teaching live. So not only was the teaching door closing, but the ancillary income, right? The multiple streams of income from my book was also shutting down because I wasn't live. So I had to move it to an online opportunity.
Yes. And, we didn't know what was coming. We didn't have that crystal ball. We didn't know that come March of 2020, we would have to find other ways to get our content out there. Like you said, and I have to say, I just put the link in the chat on Facebook as well. And I have said this to you since my learning in the online space, online marketing, and in the last 2 years, that your website is coursecreators.com. And the foresight, knowing that that would be so, that is really where it's at right now with online entrepreneurs, digital CEOs. There's so many of us that are content creators and course creators. You specialize in it. You really do. You've taught me in your classes how to write a course and theme a course. And but yeah, the fact that you picked coursecreators.com many years ago.
2009.
Yeah.
I find that when I look back, because I reflect a lot on my life pretty consistently, because I just want to see my life from a different lens. We were ahead of our time then too. And the products that we were putting out, check this out. We created CDs, right? We created CDs that taught people how to use Facebook for business, how to use LinkedIn, how to use Zillow and Trulia, how to do a website, how to do videos back in 2009, 2010. And we put them on CDs and we had to burn them, and we created labels. And then we finally, they got so profitable that we were actually able to outsource the creating of those CDs. And 2009, 2010 was not, well, yeah, it seems like ancient history now. But now I can take those same courses and put them up on I can record them through Zoom, share my screen, record it, put it out there to the world. And
it's beautiful.
Yeah. People ask me all the time, like, why don't I have my books? I actually have two, my books on Amazon, and I just don't. It's a business decision that I made. Mm-hmm. But that would be like the ultimate putting it out there online, right?
Yeah. So. Yeah. And I have said this to you as well. I'm gonna take us. Look, I said this to you, and I do this member spotlight every month, and I thought, well, wow, when I bring you on as a guest, I literally have worked with you, purchased your products, your services, your coaching in all of your businesses. So mm-hmm. I have firsthand experience and some great testimonials that I can. I'm the evidence sitting in front of all of you. So let's take a turn and talk not only about the courses that you write for the speaking that you do in the real estate industry for real estate educators, but the coaching that you do for women and the new program, relatively new program that you have for women empowerment. And I'll just speak just briefly to my experience of first reading your book in 2019 and then listening to your first podcast and stumbling at random across one of the episodes. It wasn't stumbling. It was like I would wake up every morning and was like, couldn't wait for the next episode. So I listened to this episode, and it was called How to Get What You Want in 30 Days. And I was intrigued. And I thought, I'm at a point, it's 2019, I'm at a point where I want to which I now understand to be level up, scale my business. These were all terms I did not know, but I knew that I wanted more. And that episode I would listen to over and over, and I took it seriously. And talk about saying yes, I did exactly what it said. And in 30 days, my first one was to put videos on YouTube. And then every month I would pick something different. And I repeatedly have done that since 2019. And it'll get it like the first of the month, and I'll think, well, what am I going to pick this month? So I want you to tell us a little bit about that area of I call it your genius. I mean, it really is this program that you've put together that you co-authored called The Making of Your Life. And so tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, thanks for asking. And thanks for being our poster child. I say that all the time to Betsy because she's taken the information, ran with it, and made a difference in her life. And that's the perfect poster child. Mm. So so this whole program, The Making of Your Life, really is my toolkit for getting anything I want in life. It is the blueprint for me going from a little kid back in a steel mill town to being able to pretty much do what I want, when I want, and if I want. And I always knew that I could impact people's lives through the coaching, which a lot of my coaching program takes people through those same steps, right? Because it's all different for everybody. That's why the coaching part is so cool, because we can take the same tools, we can take the same blueprint and say, okay, well, let's put your situation in this blueprint and it's still going to work for you. Because when you find a formula that works, just plug into the formula. And so there was only one way to get that out to the world, and that was bigger, and literally to the world, was to go online. And so the Making of Your Life started with an International Women's Summit, where we had 27 speakers all speak about different topics on strength, courage, and tools and tips to make it all happen. And then that was so much fun. It was just like, I think I want to go do this in a bigger way. And so now I have a membership site that takes people literally step by step by step by step through the process, from get your head in the right place to clear out the muck that you've been carrying all your life, to recognize where you are and why you're there and what you get to do about it, to dreaming again, to understanding your true why that gets you up every morning wanting to do one thing that's going to take you one step closer to your goal. And that's where you stepped in on that. Like that one, if you did one thing every single day that got you one step closer to your goal, you will achieve whatever goal you set out to achieve. And I've done it from the house that I currently live in, my second home in Sedona, my dream car, my dream job, my dream career, writing a book, everything that I have accomplished in life, including the Making of Your Life, has gone through these processes. And when you pick a goal that you want to achieve that's reasonable within 30 days, all you have to do is, well, not all you have to do. This is the hardest part. And you said this one time when I interviewed you, you said the difficult part was breaking it down into the small steps. Because as human beings, we're like, I always use this analogy. I'm on the third floor of a building and I need to get to my car. And the way we're engineered, especially those of us that are achievers, the way we're engineered is we're thinking, okay, what is the quickest, fastest path to get to my car? And a lot of times we'll just jump out the window, get to the parking lot, which is the worst thing that we could do because we're injured all the way through that process. Okay. So to me, it's like you're on the third floor, just walk out the door of the room that you're in, walk to the elevator, get on the elevator, push the button, go down to the ground floor, wait till the door opens, go out of the lobby, walk out to the parking lot, get to your car. Most of us don't think like that. Most of us think, I got to go. And we look for the quickest path. Now, life has caused that to happen. And coming from the UPS world, I always said the speed of life issue that we deal with now is Federal Express's problem. FedEx created that speed of life, right? Because we were able to mail things, and then we were able to we were able to fax things. And then all of a sudden, Federal Express says, oh, let's get it there overnight. And then all of a sudden, speed of life took off. I admire that company. I just didn't work for them. Mm-hmm. And so when you stop and say, I want to achieve that, first of all, the ability to stop and say, I want to achieve this in 30 days is number one. Let's make no mistake, that clarity of what do I want to achieve in the next 30 days. The second thing that happens is your mind kicks in and says that you can't do that in 30 days, forget about it. And then you quit. The tenacity, what keeps the persistence going, is that you make it all manageable over the 30-day period. And the next thing you know, you've achieved the goal. Now, the key is, how do we break it down? That's the secret to that success. And you've mastered that So that, let's see, if you did 2019, 3 years, 36 months, that's 36 new things that you've done since you implemented that success formula.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm going to add to that, that in your program, what you and your coaching, what you teach and guide is that, what if you're on that third floor? Okay. Any women out there, I'm raising my hand, put it in the comments if you're here with me, that are scared about getting from the third floor to your car because the elevator isn't working and you have to go in a dark stairwell. And you keep looking at that dark stairwell and you're like, I'm not going there because this third floor is so comfy. I'm just going to stay right here. But I want to get to my car so bad. And so you put it off and you put it off and you find something else to soothe that fear. And the way this works for me and has worked for me is exactly what you teach, is that when you tell your brain the next small step is so easy, Betsy, it's so easy. Just do this one little step. And then you're that much closer.
You know, Betsy, that what you said just now is the reason why the program is directed to women. Like anybody can plug into the blueprint and become successful. Male, female, young, old, it doesn't matter. It's a success formula. The reason why we targeted women is because we have stuff that we need to overcome. That dark stairwell. Okay, so we did a survey and we got like over 600 responses. And I put all the responses in an Excel spreadsheet and it came out with the top ones, right? One of the top ones was our safety issue. That dark stairwell becomes that dark parking lot walking from the store to the car, right? And so many women said, my keys become my weapon. And I started hearing all these things that women were saying that we have to deal with. Now, I'm not saying men don't have things to deal with, because you do. You are just as programmed by society as we are. But I know what it's like to be a woman, and I want to be able to help women achieve. Because at one point in my life, I was in society's box, doing what society told me I should do. Don't go down that stairwell. It's a scary place. Don't go there. Be happy on the third floor. Why do you have to get to your car right now? Like we have been even more programmed than men, because men are pushed out into the dark stairwell. And we're like, nope, we've been told all our lives, nope, don't go, don't go, don't go. So that's why this program is directed to women, and that's the whole front part of the program, is really getting your head in the right space to take on the changes that are going to happen in your life, the changes that you can make every single day, the changes that you can make every single month, because that's not acceptable. That's why the whole program is targeted to women, because we've got to overcome a bunch of stuff to become who we were meant to be. That's in the old days, we would say that's a tweet moment.
Yeah.
But it's the truth.
And a lot of it stems in our heads. You know, I have learned it's not anyone else's fault. It is what it is. There's that saying. And the reason that I'm on the third floor is because I thought way back when that I wanted to be there. That I picked that floor, you know, if we continue on that analogy, that I didn't know. I had written something. I was telling you before we came on live that I was writing these posts about this was coming up. And I wrote about the fact that I have learned what I want. Mm-hmm. So it's about how to get what you want. Not the program isn't, but this one exercise was about how to get what you want. But for so long, I didn't know what I wanted. Mm-hmm. And therefore the third floor felt very comfy. And that you got that itch, you've got that inside you that's like, oh, but I really want that over there. Because in your book, you talk about, you know, getting from where you are to where you dream to be, and discovering what your why is and how that just is your main thrust every day. So yeah, so a lot of it is coming to that realization.
And I think too, something, and this was, okay, we picked that third floor. Like in your case, you picked that third floor 32 years ago, 33 years ago, however many years, right? When we just become an adult and we think this is what we want, right? Whether it's the career path that we chose, whether it's the relationships that we chose, whether it's the town that we live in, you name it, at the cusp of us becoming our own, we made these choices. The cool thing is that as we become adults and we really focus on midlife women, which is really like 35 to 70. So what difference does it make, right? But the idea is when we get to a point where we become adults and we realize we have the right to make those decisions. I have the right, let me say this differently. I have the right to acknowledge that itch. You may have had that itch for 30 years, but we get to a certain point in our lives where we give ourselves permission to acknowledge that itch. Then when the itch gets strong enough, we got to do something about it, right? So you can be on the third floor the rest of your life if you're happy. Stay there. If you can say you're happy, you wake up every morning and you're happy, stay there. If not, what's the itch? What are you being called to do? Who are you being called to serve? How does the next chapter in your life look like? And we at some point have to take ownership that we have the right to write the next chapter. And most of us don't, because we're afraid to get in the stairwell. We're afraid to take that leap into the stairwell.
And
right?
It's very much like when we talk about little kids, like let's say, as adults, we go unplugged for a day and we just play. And a lot of people make the analogy, it's like, it's great just to be like a kid again. And just like the way they look at stuff, they don't have this, they don't second guess themselves. I mean, a lot of the times we have to discipline children, little ones, toddlers, because they're just so free. And I make that same analogy with where you can go from somewhere in your teens. It's possible even in your 20s. It depends on where life takes you, either from high school to maybe college and whatever happens after that. But somewhere in like your mid 20s to midlife is this sector of your life where you decided something and you stayed for whatever reason. Now, it's not all of us. There are some people I look at and I'm like, wow, you had it. You had it, and you spoke to people and said, I'm going this way. I know you all expected me to be there, but I'm going this way. And then there are those of us who had, as I've described to you, the stories in our heads, and we listened to the stories in our heads rather than the true facts that are right out there in front of us. So and yet I'll say you teach us that it's never too late.
It's never too late. It's never too late. If we wake up breathing, it's never too late. There's an opportunity. There's an opportunity just around the corner. Like a lot of us didn't see it in 2020. The sky was falling. Oh my God, what am I going to do? We didn't even see the opportunity. And then all of a sudden, it just takes one of us to sit and say, no, there's something else we can do here. So let's do it.
Yes.
And then it's like, do I want to do it or not? Now there's some people that jumped in and there's some people who didn't jump in. Either way, it's all okay because it's a personal decision. But it's a personal decision based on what you want out of life. If status quo is good, then it's good. If you want more than good, there's a small, what is it? Like, there's a small difference between being ordinary and extraordinary in your decisions and in your actions and in the next chapter that you create. And they're small tweaks. They're not like major, they're just small tweaks. That's what we've been talking about. One small thing I get to do every single day that takes me from an ordinary Zoom user to Zoom expert, right? I mean, anyway, I could talk about that forever and a day, but.
I know. Well, we don't have forever in a day today, although I love this topic just because I've lived it too. So tell everyone and take us now to how can we get a bit of what's happening next with Making of Your Life Productions. So tell us a little bit about that.
So it's November, yes, and so everybody, I hope, is stopping and reflecting on 2022 and your business model for 2022, and then planning for how you want your business to look in 2023. I hope we're all there, because it's that time of the year that we should be doing that work. So right now, that's exactly where I am. And I am remodeling because I found a better way to make it work. Right. And so I'm jumping in the stairwell right now, doing something different. And it's going to be so much better. So I kind of don't want to spill the beans, but I'll kind of give you a hint. Every week in a month, there's going to be something really exciting happening in the Making of Your Life. Hey. And when you think about just the name of it, the Making of Your Life, means that you are going to take ownership to make your life your way. And I just want to be with you on the journey, holding your hand, taking you through that path. And so I'm figuring out, well, I've already figured it out, the best way to make that happen. And so I'm so daggone excited. I have to bite my tongue. But that's what's happening in 2023. It's just a better version of it. And I can't wait.
I can't wait now too. And I know that people can follow you on social media. That's yeah. One way to, stay in touch with you. I mean, right here in our group, even if you're in the group, you just click on your name and you can go to your main profile here on Facebook, where there's plenty of information that they can follow, correct?
That's where this next thing that's coming out, which is like within the next 24 hours, is going to come out first on my Facebook page.
Awesome.
We heard announced on social media, Instagram and Facebook.
I was gonna say, I think we heard it here first. I think we could say that based on the look on your face. So I'm really
so excited. I can barely stand it.
Excited because I know that the content works, and I know that not all of my friends are in this group. I have a lot of friends, all of you that I've met in this group and doing business with. And many of you who know me from years ago have messaged me and said, what are you doing? And how do we figure that out? Just like you figured it out. And, it's this program and content. It's seeking. There's a huge part of it, which is when you seek something more than what you have. So, look, we have the internet at our fingertips now. We can Google stuff, but when you come across something that works and that fits you right, you stay with it. And you've also taught me about time, that everything doesn't happen. I'll go back to what you said. We all want it really quick. That darn FedEx, they made everything happen overnight. But we all want things so quickly, don't we? And it needs to unfold over time. Time is needed. Mm-hmm. I mean, without it, exactly what we're saying. Here we are 2 years later, and we wouldn't be here based on, did you say, and here I am in the future?
The decisions that you make today are designing your future self. So in 2020, when you made decisions to become a Zoom expert and share your knowledge and teach people how to keep their doors open, it's brought you to who you are today. And those of us that listened and kept our doors open because of Zoom, we are where we are today because of that decision. So every decision that we make is designing our future self. I don't know that we look at decision making that way. However, it's so critical to what you say yes to and what you say no to. Goes back to kind of what we started talking about.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's also a matter of looking deeper inside and figuring out, once you do make that decision about what you're going to do differently, then working every day at believing that it's possible. So there's very much this, positive mindset that goes along with your program. And I do know that back when your podcast came out, that's actually something that people could go and listen to, isn't it?
Sure.
Yeah, we'll put that link in the comment thread of this video. In that when you did a podcast for the first time, how did that go for you? Was that something that you were, ready and willing to?
Look, I'm never short on words, right? That I'm a speaker for a living. I'm never short on words. However, when you put yourself out there to the rest of the world in a different format, it's like, will I know what to say? Literally, it was like this. It was like, turn the mic on, turn the mic off, turn the mic on, turn the mic off. But I will say this about that. That was a commitment. Somebody challenged me to publish every day for a year. And I accepted the challenge. Now, I don't know how many episodes I have. I don't think I did 300 and however many days there are in a year. How many days are there in a year? I don't even know.
365?
Is it? I don't know.
Yeah.
You could tell me 900 and I'd be like, I don't know. Well, I kind of know that one.
Yeah.
However, the idea of putting yourself out there, because think about this, everybody who's going to listen to this, there is so much that that you hold in your mind or you hold in your heart. So much. And we assume that a lot of people already know it. And I'm here to tell you, don't assume that. Like everybody has something to share, right? So if you don't know how to share it and you want to do YouTube videos, hop on Zoom, record yourself. You'll be on the screen and the video will be captured and you can start a YouTube channel because you have something to say. You have something to share. Nobody shares the same thing the same way because nobody else is you. So even if somebody's already talked about X, it doesn't matter because nobody's going to talk about X the way you're going to talk about X. So I had to keep telling myself that to the point where I finally turned on the mic and left it on. And then the next day got easier and the next day got easier and the next day got easier. And then it got to the point where I didn't care if it was 1 o'clock in the morning. I was not going to bed. I was not going to lay my head on that pillow until I published a podcast. And then it became like something that you had told me, like, well, now I want to do it. Now I get to do it. Right. And therefore that energy just causes you to do it. And then just allow yourself to get caught up in the momentum of it.
Yeah.
It was a blast. Podcasting is a blast. And for whatever industry you're in right now, if I could just help you all, let me clear my screen. For whatever industry you're in, it doesn't matter. Everybody's being affected by what's going on in the world right now. So if you're affected by what's going on in the world and you know how to handle it just a little bit better than somebody else in your industry, people need to hear you. Right? So whatever that looks like, and if you don't know how to do what I'm telling you to do on Zoom, just reach out for Betsy and say, hey, give me a coaching session. I need to figure out what Theresa just talked about, because this is your YouTube. This could be your YouTube channel. This could be your Facebook video, which, Facebook now is the second highest producer of videos. They're not that far behind YouTube. There's a reason for that, because people listen to videos. People want to hear what people have to say. People enjoy watching it. So just do it. Just publish somewhere, because people need to hear what you're saying. And it's not the easiest thing to do. It gets easier the more that you do it.
Yeah. Well, you've said, and I had to write it down here in front of me, because something that you say, it's on the back of your book. Is that what you claim to be your greatest gift? Want me to read it out? Or you want to tell us that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Being blessed with the ability to be given the words to say in a manner in which one can hear them at a time one can receive them. And I bring that up because when you have that in you, you have it in you. The people you're speaking to have that passion in them to speak about what they want to speak about. And you put aside your fears of sitting here in front of a microphone or in front of a camera because of that. So tell us how it being online changes you.
Well, it was funny because when Betsy said, okay, we're getting ready. And I'm like, oh, I'm so nervous. And I said, not, because that mantra is what allows me to not be nervous when I present or when I coach. And just a quick backstory on that. I was presenting on behalf of the National Association of Realtors at their annual conference. And the marketing department brought me in. So it wasn't like I put my name in the hat and said, pick me. They picked me, which was a huge honor. And I remember standing outside the rooms, big, huge room. And I was thinking, well, how do you feel right now? And I thought, well, I'm pretty excited. And I asked myself, I'm like, so what is the one thing that you want? And I said, I want to be able, and then the mantra came. So now every time I speak, every time I get ready to coach, every time I teach, I say that mantra. Give me the words to say in a manner in which they can hear them at a time that they can receive them. And then the rest of the time, I just trust that whatever comes out of my mouth is what needs to come out of my mouth. Now, having said that, because obviously that's what somebody needed to hear, the fact that I made it a mantra is something that I live by. So what's your mantra? That's what I would ask everybody. What's your mantra that gives you that sense of confidence, that ability to stand up and do what you do so well? And then having said that, what was your question?
I was making the point you were making the connection to everybody out there that if you've got it in you, that, get beyond this microphone, this camera, this not knowing Zoom, this. And so I made the connection to having this in you, like yeah. you said to us. So
yeah, and I think everybody does. I think we get in our own way. We think, so I might go off a little bit here, but we think that everything that we have is in this physical body, in this brain, with this voice, the reality of it is we're not in this alone. And when you are given a gift, a talent, then the reality of it is, I always say I'm blessed. Like you said, I am blessed because I believe that it's a God-given talent. Now, whoever you believe God to be, I call source, the universe, God, whatever, we are given these gifts. Now, what happens is most of our life, we have been taught not to tout the gifts. We have been taught not to be so overly confident or cocky or conceited, or it's not about you, or who are you to think that you can make a difference in the world, blah, 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 all that stuff that we heard. The reality of it is, and I love Marianne Williamson's quote, she says, who are you not to shine your light with these God-given talents? I'm paraphrasing, right? So when we get out of our own way, we are even more amazing than we can even think. And so to me, a lot of times what I say, like people will ask me, like, could you just repeat that? And I'm like, I can't repeat it. I don't know where it came from. I know where it came from. I always point out to my window, and you know this because I've done this to you many times. Like I'll just say it from out there. So think about that, everybody who's listening. Like you are good at what you do because there are things that you did to get good at. The baseline, the foundation was already set for us. So if we take that foundation and launch from it and then master the skills.
Yeah.
You can get on Zoom in a heartbeat, spontaneous with no script, and go and make a huge difference.
Mhm.
I believe that.
And for those listening that could agree with me here, that that as time goes on, this thing we call life is such a roller coaster ride. There are times that we feel we are right on top. I mean, totally on top, and nothing can touch us. Like, I got it. Watch me. And then there are times when we're paralyzed and we go to record something or write something. I just heard from one of my friends this morning, and I hope she's listening or listening back on the replay, because we were talking we have a little group message, kind of cohort that we have. And we were talking about being paralyzed and how you want to talk about your message and how come, she says it so well. And, I can't do that. I can't say my message. And I said back to her a piece of advice she gave me, which is to just turn on Zoom, talk to the camera, and Zoom will give you a transcript of what you said. And then all your words, it's just you, just you in your Zoom room all by yourself. And then you'll get a transcript. So there's lots of little ways that you can get beyond, and I don't ever view her as being paralyzed. But to take the step out and say, I'm afraid, I don't think I'm as good enough, I want to get this done, but I can't, moves you one step closer to doing it.
Yeah, it's that fear thing, which I address in my new thing that's happening. That it will either propel you or paralyze you. The choice is yours. But most people think that when fear kicks in, the natural response would be to be paralyzed. And it really could be propelling you, because you're going to overcome it. So
well, I can't wait till that comes out.
You make a really good point, because I want to go back to something you said about podcasting. There's so many different ways that you can get your message out. I chose podcasting because I know I'm good with my words. So you turn the camera on, you get on Zoom, it gives you a transcript. So now you have a video of you saying it. That's YouTube, or that's pieces of a Instagram reel or Facebook reel, or right? Okay, so that's one way of getting your message out. Then you take this transcript and now it becomes a blog.
Yeah.
Or you break it up and it becomes short snippets for posts on Facebook. Like, if we just learn the idea of repurposing what we do, we don't have to do a lot. We just have to use what we have the best way possible. Yeah. Somebody once told me, and I read this just recently again too, we think we have like 30 years of experience. And this one philosopher was saying, you don't have 30 years of experience. You have 1 year of experience and you've repeated it 30 times. Now he's saying it from a different perspective, like, no, really, you probably should get 30 years of real experience, because as we change through those 30 years, as you witnessed yourself, great things can happen. At the same time, I'm like, okay, so if you only want to experience 1 year, then how do you repurpose that 1 year, right? How do you repurpose it on social media? How do you repurpose it on podcasts? How do you repurpose it? Oh, by the way, you can strip the recording, right? Get the recording only from Zoom. And now you have a podcast. So let's see, I could do one Zoom recording and I can get a video used many, many different places. I can get a transcript so I can blog, and I now have an audio that I can call a podcast.
Yeah.
All with this one simple tool called Zoom that most of us didn't even pay attention to prior to 2020, because we were busy Skyping or whatever else we were doing at the time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Exactly that. Yeah, actually, I meet weekly with people who want to get better at Zoom, and they're learning. And right now I'm recording this in the cloud on Zoom, in addition to going live on Facebook. You can do both at the same time. Whee! And in what they've learned from me in my tech club is that you can tell Zoom ahead of time when you record to the cloud. Here, I'm going to become the Zoom teacher right now. That you can get, like, I'll be able to provide you, if you want it, little clips from this video of just you, not us side by side, because I've asked Zoom to give me just the speaker view, which is when you were talking, just you. I can get just the audio. I can get the gallery, which is us side by side. And then, like we've said, the transcript is, it's actually only for the cloud. So anyway, yes, you can just turn on the camera and go, and then have all this content that you want, probably for, a whole month's worth, of social media.
You just need to be able to edit it.
Yes.
Okay. If you don't know how to do that, reach out for Betsy and say, okay, out of this hour, whatever rant that I made on Zoom, how do I just get this, and this? Well, figure it out. So easy.
It is so easy. So, well, thank you. Because that actually was my last question for you was, what are your best practices when it comes to Zoom? It sounds like we don't really know what's coming yet. We're going to put a link. You promised me that we're going to put a link in the comment thread of this video when you unveil it out there on your personal page. However, when you bring that business to Zoom, you've talked a lot about the best practices that people could use. And I know you rely on it in order to bring this message out to everyone.
Yeah, so the entire summit was recorded via Zoom. I had no idea what I was doing. I had to reach out for Betsy. That's when I learned gallery view, speaker view, right?
Yes.
So the entire Midlife Rising Summit was on Zoom. But daily. So every morning from 7:30 to 7:50, I'm on a high accountability call with my coaching company. This morning, right after that, I was on a mastermind with some folks across the country. On Wednesday, I'll be in a meeting on Zoom with another mastermind group. And then on Friday, I'll be on Zoom in another mastermind group. This all happens before most people are awake in the morning, right? And so that's Zoom. Like, my personal and professional development is happening through Zoom. Number one, I want to go there first, right? Now, how do I use it? Meetings, interviews. I'm starting to interview people on my podcast, so now it'll be a Zoom recording. I still teach via Zoom. Like I said, I just did Hawaii, right? Not just, but a couple of months ago I did Hawaii. I don't like Zoom. Let me put it to you this way. You know how when you Google something and you've asked it and you don't clear your browsing history, and I don't even have to type in Z. I just have to do the drop down. It's the first one. The one application I use the most, right? So and some of you aren't going to understand this, Betsy can explain it to you, but I just put my cursor in the URL and I get my drop down and it's Zoom. That's how much I use it. Like, that appointment that I made via phone call was very rare. Now, the reason why it was rare is because I knew I had to be in motion, and the back half of that call I had to go somewhere. So you don't be on Zoom. Use it when you need it. But oh my gosh, the application, the recording, the record keeping, the ability to repurpose, like we talked about, all of that happens in my life on Zoom, seriously, on a daily basis. Yeah. Even working with my coworkers remotely, right? You want to Zoom? Let's Zoom. It's funny because we'll Zoom and share Google Docs at the same time, or a Google spreadsheet at the same time. It's like the interactivity between all the tools that we have available right now can cause us to be so much more effective and efficient in how we get stuff done.
Yeah.
And I'll stop there because I know we're at our hour, but
yeah, we are.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, everyone who has been to my classes the last 2 weeks knows that I'm raving about Zoom's new team chat. So, and you and I haven't even had a conversation about it yet, where you literally with the Zoom app on your phone can send your Google Docs, your Excel files, your photographs. I have one of my Zoom producer students is in London. So I wake up and she's messaged me on Zoom. So we do that instead of emailing, so that our messages, we do it instead of Messenger here and instead of regular text messages because she's overseas. But you have a team, you need to keep in touch with them. Look into putting everybody in a chat thread on your Zoom app. I mean, it really is. That's where Zoom's going in terms of being an all-around business communication app. So, so all of those conversations you're having in your Zoom meetings, you can now continue them when you're not online live. So,
I mean, I'll ask you a question, Betsy. Like, you don't see it stopping,
no,
right? Like, Zoom isn't done creating itself.
No.
Right. I mean, you were so excited when whiteboards came out. Now you're excited that group chats are coming. Who knows what it's going to be like next month. I always say, if you want to be successful, do what successful people do. In this case, if you want to be a successful company, do what other companies do. And if Zoom is considered very successful right now, then that reinvention every single month or almost every single month is probably something that we should take a look at.
Yeah.
How do I reinvent myself this month? What is that one thing I want to do in 30 days to reinvent myself, to follow suit, to do something new and different and exciting that lights you up? Like, you get excited. I know you're a geeky kind of person, but you get excited when that stuff happens. Could you imagine if all of us went around the world excited about one new thing that we get to do this month? I mean, like, would we really have world problems? I mean, if we did that, we'd probably solve like world hunger and homelessness.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
Well,
on that note, that's a great place to finish. I'd say that we're going to solve world hunger. So, I could go on and on talking with you, and I'm really grateful that you've given us a full hour. I hope everyone out there has enjoyed it as well. I was checking the comments, and we had a few hellos from people we know, like Chris Inman and Gary, the nerd, Nordling. So I'm sure there's others that have been watching who didn't tell us you were there. And then for many of you watching back on the replay. So
were there any questions we need to answer?
Yeah, no questions that I see. Cool. And I do know that on my iPad, when I bring it up, the tech geek that I am, the comments don't show until you swipe one way or the other. So one day I was interviewing, like, no, we have no comments. And then sure enough, I think it was Dalton, if she's watching now, she's like, oh yeah, I see all the comments. And I was like, oh, I didn't swipe to the left. So I just swiped and they're all hellos. So I've learned that lesson, and I'm always like that. Everybody knows that about me. If I can't teach you and someone can teach me, it's even a better day. So anyway, thanks again, Theresa. Really, we can't wait to see what's coming out next with Making of Your Life, and make all of our lives better.
Thank you.
Thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you all next month. Take care now.